Hey guys, I know I've been missing in action for the last 3 days. I got a 24-hour reprieve, a little free time, so I'm jumping in here quickly. I want you to listen to some of the comments that have been made regarding Donald Trump and this audio and video clips regarding how Donald Trump really feels about women. I say this because Hillary Clinton, about a couple of weeks ago, was talking about initially 50% of the Trump supporters being deplorable and potentially irredeemable. And she walked those comments back and said, obviously it's less than 50% would fall into those buckets. Well, in my opinion, okay, and based on polls, that 50% comment was wrong. That number should have been higher. Check this out.
All day, many of his base supporters are standing by him and criticizing Republicans who condemn his comments.
It is your job, Paul Ryan, to endorse the Republican nominee, and you finally did that after you called him a racist. But now you heard him say a couple of controversial things about a woman in a locker room with a bunch of guys. Donald Trump's an amazing man. The people who do not support Donald Trump, especially in our party, you support Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, okay, that's one. Check this out. Here's another one.
He actually did was nothing. He introduced a young man to this profession.
What he did was actually nothing. This man was 50 some odd years old. This wasn't no 19-year-old, you know, testosterone driven. I don't know what the hell's going on in the world, and I'm just out there for myself, and I want to get all the pussy I can get type of guy. This is a 53-year-old man, married twice, had been recently married, and he's still talking about women as objects, you know, grabbing ass, grabbing pussy, grabbing, you know, kissing on women that don't want it. Anyway, let's finish out with this particular segment.
Woman. He obviously mentioned his wife. He was being a young banter locker room kind of guy, which we've all
being a young banter room type of guy. The man was 50 plus years old. Come on.
seen.
See, and this is the type of thing that I'm talking about. You got the Trump people, these Trump supporters. They don't give a damn. And Trump was right. He could turn around and shoot somebody in the face on Fifth Avenue in broad daylight in front of cameras, and these people would still support his ass. It's ridiculous.
Supporters outside Trump Tower are echoing what we're hearing from a lot of his base supporters. This latest scandal isn't going to do anything to change their mind. But as we head into tonight's second debate in St. Louis, the Trump campaign is obviously in turmoil. No one seems to know what to expect from Trump tonight. Now let's bring in Steve Cortez, Trump's surrogate, who also serves on Trump's National Hispanic Advisory Council. First of all, thanks for being here, Steve.
Good morning, Al. Thanks for having me.
You know, just over 24 hours after the release of the tape, let's start with this. What's the mood inside the Trump campaign?
You know, look, obviously there's concern, right? We've got work to do tonight. But I do think that we owe Mr. Trump, those of us who supported him in the primary, we owe him a listen. And I think the American people owe him a listen tonight. But he clearly has work to do. I'll be the first to admit that, even though I do still support him. I'm not joining some of my fellow Republicans in repudiating him, although I certainly repudiate his comments. I also think that was over a decade ago. I think he's a different man. I believe in forgiveness, and I don't believe anyone is irredeemable, despite the fact that Hillary Clinton seemed to think a lot of us are. But
Okay, number one, the man was 50 plus years old. So what's changed in the last 10 years other than his ego has continued to grow unchecked? Okay, so Donald Trump, in my opinion, is gone. It's just a question of who does he drag down with him. Now, Steve is an example of a person who is a no matter what Trump. He's a no matter what Trump. He is going to support him until his dying day. You're going to see us or hear a statement from him towards the end of this video where Al pretty much asked him, you know, what would make you jump ship? And the only thing that would have, he's claiming that would have made him jump ship is if the guy had said this during his campaign. No, this goes to character. But okay, let me continue on.
Having said all of that, I think we are presented the American people right now with two very flawed candidates, two highly
let me ask you, let me push you on that, Steve. What would make you withdraw your support? I mean, after seeing what he said on that video, we're talking about a 59-year-old man at the time. We're not talking about some youthful guy that got carried away.
Sure.
What would make you reconsider your support, given what he said in the past and now this kind of blatant, graphic, lewd kind of behavior?
Right. No, listen, Al, that's a fair question. A couple things. If he were to have said that very recently, if that tape were from 6 months ago, for me, that would be a deal breaker. If he would not apologize, and his second apology, thankfully, the first one, frankly, didn't cut it with me, and I think not with very many people. The second one on video was unreserved and unmitigated. So he apologized. He asked for forgiveness. He asked his wife for forgiveness. He asked his supporters for forgiveness. I'm willing to grant that. But again, I think he has wood to chop, clearly, tonight. The onus is on him to come out here and sell his starkly different vision for America to the American people, and also convince them that he's a very different man than the man on that tape from over a decade
ago. But he was 59. He was 59 years old, Steve, and I get it. It was 10 years ago, but it wasn't like he was 30 or 20.
Sure.
And you're saying it took him 2 apologies to even get you convinced to hang on and see what the end's going to be, as one would say.
Right. I know. Listen, Al, I get your point. This was not a youthful indiscretion, that's for sure, right? He was already a middle-aged, if not, older man at the time. But I think he was a very different man. He was a Hollywood-type figure. He was a reality TV person wrapped up in that world. I'm not making excuses, okay? I have a wife. I have 3 daughters. That kind of talk is repugnant to me. But what I am saying is today, the choice we have between Hillary Clinton...
He's the same man, okay? And he makes no bones about saying that he's an outsider and he's not a politician. So he's the same man that he was when he was 59, and maybe worse, okay? So again, these guys are looking for every way under the sun to try to hang with this guy, and it just can't fly.
Clinton and Donald Trump. To me, the choice couldn't be clearer in terms of a vision for America. We have an economy right now that is hobbling. We have terror, which is on the march. I think we can reverse both of those trends with Donald Trump. I think when it comes to prosperity and security, compared to Hillary Clinton, to me, there is still no choice. But again, we've got our work cut out for us. This isn't going to be the most fun day of media.
Is Trump going to go after Bill Clinton's past and how Mrs. Clinton handled his past?
Yeah, Al, I think so. At least that's the indication right now. I frankly don't think that's a good idea. I don't want to focus on, sexual escapades from the 1990s. I want to focus on growth and security. And I think, by the way, my guess is, clearly the Republican Party's had a problem with women voters already before this Trump scandal. We probably have a deeper problem now with women. I think the way we win women over is by talking about things like child care and paychecks, talking about jobs, talking about security. So I would rather that we don't go down the road in any detail on what happened back in the 1990s. I think that's a mistake, but that's not my decision to make. It's Donald Trump's. I'm with him, but again, he's got a tough task ahead of him, and I hope he does it because America needs it. We cannot continue with the status quo.
You say win women over. You do not believe these tapes just ruin his chances of winning this election under any circumstances?
I sure hope not. Again, I believe in forgiveness. I believe in second chances. If this was something that he did, in March of this year.
Forgiveness and voting for somebody is 2 different things. You can forgive somebody and say, but I don't think I can vote for this guy.
Of course. But you know, too, forgiveness only happens when you say you're sorry. And I would love for Hillary Clinton to say she's sorry, by the way, for calling people like me deplorable, for calling us irredeemable.
Okay. Again, see, that's where they try to move shit around. Excuse me. Hillary Clinton didn't call people like you deplorable and irredeemable, okay? She basically was talking about people who have, let us call it, shaky moral attitudes. Basically, people that are supporting Trump no matter what, even though he makes comments like this, okay? And they're all gung-ho with the bullshit rhetoric that he has regarding Mexicans being rapists and criminals, black people being lazy and prone to violence, Muslims, all, you know, pretty much, and I know I'm generalizing, but Muslims being prone to terrorism, women basically being objects, okay? Those are the people that she was talking about as far as being categorized in a deplorable bucket. Now, again, all people that have those opinions may or may not be deplorable. I happen to think that the odds-on favorite is that they are. But, okay, Steve, you know, he is supporting this guy. He, as he said, has, you know, wife and, you know, 3 daughters, and he finds this, you know, the comments deplorable. But yet and still, you know, he is still supporting this guy. So if you support a guy that makes deplorable comments, you know, you figure it out for yourself.
I would like her to say she's sorry for jeopardizing our national security. So I'm admitting faults on Donald Trump's part. I'm admitting we have a flawed candidate. I think we have a far more deeply flawed candidate on the other side, and I will make that case aggressively. And given this binary choice, and it is a binary choice right now, I think Donald Trump is the option that matters for America, for women, for men, for all colors, for prosperity and security going forward.
Well, Steve, I think a lot of Republican leaders are not listening to you, but I give you credit for swinging with all you have in a very, very tough point this morning. Steve Cortez, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, now, remember, Steve said if he had made those comments within the past 6 months, that it would be a deal breaker for you. Okay, I'm going to show a portion of, well, this next piece to this particular video is going to demonstrate that Donald Trump, you know, has said something within the last week that I find deplorable and should be disqualifying. And I would love for Al to have brought this up with Steve to see how he felt about this. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, I wanted to put this little piece in before I get to the clip that I want.
But this morning, a sign that the base is sticking with Trump in a new poll. Just 12% of Republicans say Trump should end his campaign. 74% say party officials should continue backing Trump.
What does that say about 74% of Republicans with all the other bullshit that we know about Trump? Okay, and finally making this particular comment. To me, that says that Hillary Clinton was more right than everybody wants to admit. Now I'm definitely jumping to the portion that, to me, for at least black people, should be more disqualifying than anything else. Now, this is the piece to me that is 100% disqualifying. Here we go.
But Trump did something else last week that he also needs to answer for. It has to do with the Central Park Five. In the 1980s, Trump led the fear-mongering in this case, involving a young woman who was brutally raped and beaten. Trump took out full-page ads calling for the death penalty. The ad never mentioned the names of the 5 accused teenagers, 4 black, 1 Hispanic, but the message was clear. And in public comments, he held little back.
You better believe that I hate the people that took this girl and raped her brutally. You better believe it. And it's more than anger, it's hatred. And I want society to hate him.
But they were innocent. After spending years in prison, they were all exonerated, thanks in part to DNA evidence. I spoke to them in 2012.
This was a death sentence, as Raymond always says, that exceeded far beyond the regular prison term. They wanted society to kill us off as well. You know, never in a million years did they want us to be able to succeed and be here before you today telling the truth about this matter.
But this past week, Donald Trump did something that we can't lose sight of. He said he still believes the Central Park Five are guilty, despite the evidence. Think about that. If Donald Trump had been in charge, would those young men ever have received justice? A man confessed after they had done many years in jail. DNA verified the confession of the man. And you still, with scientific evidence, insist they did it. As an advocate, I believe people should stand for what they believe. But with self-confessions and evidence, that says a lot about Donald Trump.
That says all I need to know, okay? All I need to know. Donald Trump is a racist. He's a misogynist. He's a xenophobe. He's an Islamophobe, okay? And finally, you get this guy on tape making the comments that he makes about grabbing women's pussies and kissing them and doing all types of things to them against their will, and saying he can get away with it because he is who he is. Now, I'm just waiting for somebody to come up with those videos from The Apprentice where he says even worse things. The last that I heard was that the production company that made The Apprentice TV show has a lot of video out there that never made it onto regular TV. Obviously, it couldn't, based on what this guy was saying. But there is actual video out there of him making even worse statements, you know, talking about his some of the women on his shows being hot and then turning to male contestants and asking them if they, you know, would or felt like the woman was fuckable, and then trying to press the male contestants, saying, you would fuck her, wouldn't you? You would fuck her, wouldn't you? I would, wouldn't you? You know, those type of statements. So they're going to show sooner or later. Somebody's got them. Somebody's got access to them. And when those particular videos go down, in my opinion, that's going to be the end. But Hugh Hewlett, who was a never Trump guy, then he jumped on the bandwagon. Now he basically was calling for Donald Trump to drop out of the race. Here are his comments regarding the situation.
Hewitt made headlines yesterday for calling on Trump to drop out. He joins me now from St. Louis. You, the GOP base, doesn't seem to agree with you. Are they wrong?
Well, the GOP base is loyal to Mr. Trump because they followed him through a long primary process. And as of Friday, I was with them and urging that people take the rebound that Mike Pence came out of his great win over Tim Kaine and march forward. But I'm doing my analyst job here, Al. Here's the deal. Mass attending Catholics were already tenuously attached to Donald Trump. After this video, that already deeply weakened number, he's down 22% over what Mitt Romney did in 2012, is going to plummet. Latter-day Saints, who are deeply attached to the concept of marriage and fidelity in marriage, he was already very much on thin ice with most Mormon support that was out there for him. It's crashed through the ice, as you saw Jason Chaffetz and Mike Lee join Mitt Romney yesterday as perhaps the most public, Jeff Flake, another Mormon in the political sphere. It's crashed through the ice. That matters in places like Arizona. As a political matter, I've already discussed the morality of it, and I'm a sort of John 8, 1 through 11 on this. Maybe you are as well, Al, that I'm not going to throw stones. I'm going to say objectively it was disgusting and repulsive, but there are many behaviors in public life that are disgusting and repulsive. Objectively, I don't think he can win. And objectively, I think he endangers the Senate majority. I think he endangers North Carolina, a wonderful senator. I think he endangers Joe Heck in Nevada, who is going to win the only seat, and still is still ahead. General Heck, Dr. Heck, he's got a lot of titles. He's a great, great candidate in Nevada. Donald Trump's fiasco over the weekend endangers that.
Right,
He
so
may even endanger the House majority.
I get it that you're saying politically he makes the Senate races more difficult and he can't win, and putting aside the morality or immorality of his statements, because he certainly said things before this that I found repugnant and many did. You're saying he can't win, but many experts, legal experts, say it would be next to impossible to take Trump's name off the ballot and replace it with someone else. What's your response to that, you?
They're wrong. And I can cite Robert Torricelli in New Jersey, September 30th of his election cycle in 2006, I believe, in which Democrats panicked over losing the Senate majority. They pulled the torch off of the ballot, went to a federal judge, replaced him with Frank Lautenberg, maybe it was 2002. And so the Torricelli option is up there. It's a lot of litigation, but it can't happen. He can't be forced off. I want to be very clear about that. Mr. Trump is the nominee. He can only lay it down. I think it's in the country's interest, the party's interest, his family's interest, his own interest to do that. We'll see tonight what happens. I'm afraid gasoline is headed to the fire. He should be talking about the Podesta emails. He should be talking about Hillary Clinton's Goldman Sachs tapes, in which he calls for basically a one-world market in the hemisphere. They're just completely two-faced over what she said during the Bernie Sanders campaign. He should be talking about Huma Abedin referring to AIPAC as that crowd. Scare quotes there are intended by me to convey that it was a deeply despicable comment on Abedin's part that is not getting any attention. This all broke in the last 48 hours. Any other Republican nominee, and even Mr. Trump, but for this video, would be marching to victory today. Instead, as I said on the Today Show earlier today, this reminds me of that terrible moment on the football field when Joe Theismann was hit by Lawrence Taylor in 1985 and suffered a career-ending injury. This is that kind of a political hit. And so I think Mr. Trump's got to review it, and I think probably right now Trump Tower is a little bit like Richard Nixon's inner circle in 1974, with very little reality getting in, but the ice melting away. Despite your online poll,
yeah.
and I was with him on Friday. I understand the Trump supporters, but objectively, when you lose mass attending Catholic and Mormon, and you were already 4 or 5 points down, don't sink the Senate, don't sink the House, and Republicans out there have got to vote, because Mrs. Clinton is going to be a disaster.
All right,
a disaster.
You are going to have to hold it there. You, Wyatt, you. I'm sorry. I thank you for being with me this morning.
All right, just so that you know, okay, and I've said this before, I am not a Hillary supporter. I pretty much want to say I can't stand this woman. I wanted to use a B word, but I'm trying to change or clean up my act. But Donald Trump is even worse. So I guess I'm just as bad as some of these Trump supporters and their support of him. And I take that back. I really don't support her. I just basically have no choice, that having to vote for her. I'm not a supporter or endorser or anything else. She is terrible. She is terrible. Okay, and the only redeeming quality that I could see here is, well, possibly two. One, I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that she's going to put a progressive on the Supreme Court. So I can hold my nose for that. The other thing that I am not sure of but hopeful for is that she will at least have her feet held to the fire by us as a people, and I guess hopefully the Democratic progressive portion of the party, to get some of the stuff done that's in the platform. Okay, now if this turns out the way that I think it probably may, I think that the Democratic Party will be able to take over the Senate. Okay, this last thing might have done it. I am not as confident actually, I have no confidence that they will be able to take over the House. But I think that they will be able to pick up a bunch of seats that's going to make the House a lot closer than it is, so that alliances can be formed in order to get stuff done, and Paul Ryan won't have to deal with the Tea Party guys that are in the House. It seems like at the end of the day, the only support, or the majority of the support, that Donald Trump is going to continue to have are obviously the Donald Trump fanatics and the alternate right guys. I want to see what these evangelical pastors are going to say about this. Now, if they hold their nose and claim forgiveness of Trump and continue to give him their support, then I have no respect for any of them. Now, I already, forget about that phony ass pastor Darrell Scott and Omarosa and all those other guys. Those guys, are in Trump's pocket. So in my mind, they don't count. I want to see some of these mega church white evangelicals. I want to see what they got to say, because their comments could have some effect. But even they have to run for cover as well. So, all right. Sorry about not being out here, guys. Like I said, I've been going at a project pretty much for 12 hours a day. And when I come home, it's anywhere around 11, 12 o'clock. I catch about an hour's worth of news, and then I crash, and then I get up and go back out there early the next morning. So I'm going to try to put up about 2 or 3 today, since I got a 24-hour window before I have to jump back in on this project. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Take care. Now, just in case you thought that those 2 women that I had on there that seemed a bit fanatical, I just wanted to add this little piece regarding a woman who appears to be rational, but again, she is in the Trump camp and she is not coming out. Here we go.
Alessia McQueen is a Donald Trump supporter from St. Louis. She joins me now. Alessia, thank you.
I'm glad to be here.
With so many senior Republican officials stepping back, dropping out, why are you still behind Donald Trump?
Well, for me, it's about actions speaking louder than words. And I think this whole situation with him and what he said 11 years ago, to me, he addressed it, he apologized, he was heartfelt about it, and no one's defending what he said, okay? So I don't think anybody who's supporting is defending what he said. What we're simply saying is, actions speak louder than words. He said this 11 years ago, he's apologized for it. Now let's look at the actions of what he's done. He's created a multi-billion-dollar company. He has wonderful children. These are the results of what he's given thousands of jobs to minorities and to women, and he's also accelerated women through the ranks. These are his actions that he's done past over the many, many years. And let's switch over to Hillary.
But before we get to Hillary, because it's more than just don't vote for Hillary, you got to get people out there voting and wanting to support Donald. If more tapes come out over the next 6 weeks, and it's not just 11 years ago, what if they continue? You're a mom. Are you comfortable? Would you be comfortable if your sons said, I like to grope women's private parts?
Now watch, he doesn't answer that particular question.
Well, first of all, I want to tell you I was in the U.S. Army for 5 years. I was active duty. So hearing comments like I've heard, I've actually heard worse in the military by military officials. But, and I'm not saying it's a prevalent problem. I'm just saying I have heard all kinds of things. Now, as far as me being a mother, yes, I am a mother. Yes, I do take offense to what was said. But the point is, this is a presidential campaign,
Okay, notice again, she didn't answer the part about her sons groping women's private parts. And yes, this is a presidential campaign, and part of being president is character. And you can say 11 years ago all you want, okay? But hopefully those apprentice tapes come out, and it'll be a lot more recent than 11 years. This man has not changed. He still, has the same basic psyche. Now, his wife has apparently accepted his apology, and I can equate that to Hillary Clinton hanging with Bill. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. This lady's going to go on to make some other false claims. I'll break them down as she does them.
What are we actually looking at? Are we looking at what somebody said 11 years ago? Are we looking at what they're doing now? With Hillary Clinton, for example, what is she doing now? What has she done? She was involved in the killing of Benghazi, like people that were killed in Benghazi.
She was not responsible for that, and that's the point that Republicans always like to try to make. She wasn't responsible for the deaths.
Related to that situation. She was related when she was secretary also to Iraq. I mean, she has been involved in all.
Yes, she was Secretary of State when we pulled out of Iraq, but you failed to mention that it was Mr. Bush that signed the agreement for our forces to leave, and because we couldn't negotiate a status of forces agreement with Iraq so that our troops would have protection, they had to go. She had nothing to do with that other than the new regime in Iraq, who ran on the fact that the Americans were getting the hell out of there. They definitely were not going to backtrack on that one, so you can't blame her for that one either.
These actions, these are her actions.
But if what we're doing now, if you think about the way Donald Trump conducts himself, what he says, we like to talk about jobs and the economy. Before I can think about a job, I need to feel respected. I need to be treated equally. Do you believe Donald Trump's word choices treat women respectfully?
Again, you're talking about word choices. Why don't you look at actions? Look at the people he has in his campaign. Look at the people.
But word choices are actions. You have acted to use particular words, okay? You don't just have to take a baseball bat and bash somebody up against the head. You can curse them out and make them feel, just as bad emotionally, even though they don't feel as bad physically. So actions, choices of words matter.
Who were in charge of his company.
Yeah, and Kellyanne Conway might be leaving. That's his campaign manager.
These are
if
women,
his campaign manager is leaving, if she was expected to be on TV today and we're not seeing her, that's an action. And someone's words are their actions. It's how they conduct themselves.
It is over many years. You're talking about Kellyanne Conway. That's fine. That's her decision if she wants.
Yeah, that's her decision, okay? She's his goddamn campaign manager. If there's anybody that's supposed to be, apologize for cursing. If there's anybody that's supposed to be in his camp, it's his female campaign manager. So you cannot make light of that.
Wants to leave or not, I can't speak to that. But I will say I'm going to look at some of these actions and what they've done over a lifetime. And believe me, Donald Trump has done way more than Hillary Clinton has done for anybody. I mean, she is a millionaire.
That is not true, okay? I can think of one action that Hillary did that affected way more people than Donald Trump ever did. That action was when she got health care for minors. That gave health care to 8 million little kids, okay, back during the Clinton administration. Now, you tell me an action that Donald Trump has taken that has affected 8 million people. You can't find one. Yes, he's hired his tens of thousands. Hillary got health care for 8 million kids. Screw you.
Own right as well, but she did that on the back of taxpayers. Donald Trump is not.
How did she do that on the back of taxpayers? She was paid for speeches that she gave by private organizations.
Because she's a candidate. Because she was a Secretary of State.
Now, I want to play that for you again, because this lady just said something that's totally stupid. She said that Hillary Clinton is a millionaire in the same right as Donald Trump, and she did it on the back of taxpayers. No. The Clintons made their money as private citizens, giving speeches more so than anything else. Were they overpaid and for those speeches? Absolutely. But it was not on the back of taxpayers. They were private citizens being paid by private organizations or, you know, other governments, whichever way you want to go with it, but it was not on the back of taxpayers. I want to play that piece again just so that you can hear exactly what this lady said.
I mean, she is a millionaire in her own right as well, but she did that on the back of taxpayers. Donald Trump is not.
How did she do that on the back of taxpayers? She was paid for speeches that she gave by private organizations.
Because she's a candidate. Because she was a Secretary of State. You know, she has done the.
She wasn't paid, and she gave no speeches as Secretary of State and got paid for them. So again, misinformation.
These things, but she's been a politician her entire life. She doesn't know what it's like to actually work and have to, you know, bring in these profits.
And Donald Trump has been a businessman his entire life, so he doesn't know what it's like in order to have to deal with crises that will affect millions and millions of people, having to deal with governments that don't necessarily see eye to eye with us. So your argument is weak, if not lousy at best. You're talking about two people coming from basically two different worlds, and he's trying to enter this world of which he has absolutely no experience, and all he's doing is using bravado to try to BS his way through it, and it ain't gonna happen.
You know,
well, what if Donald Trump wasn't paying taxes? What if her background makes her most qualified for the job? Given that you have a military background, what makes you think Donald Trump?
I don't think she's qualified being having a military background at all.
I'm saying you have a military background.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. That's why I'm looking at it from that perspective. I mean, she has bungled her position when she was Secretary of State. I mean, she's completely bungled it.
You see, and that's the funny thing about politics. When Hillary Clinton basically finished the first year, the first administration's tenure as Secretary of State, and when she was leaving, all she was getting was praise from both sides of the aisle. The Republicans were falling all over themselves praising this woman. Now all of a sudden, you know, they want to say she was, you know, worse than the plague. So, you know, it just depends on what's going on at the time, how people feel about you. And but for this woman to say she completely bungled the job, that is absolutely false.
You know? And I think that most people that look at this can say that. I mean, and you know, she got out of that position. When did she get out? Normally people just continue onward. It's because...
No, normally people will go for the 4 years and then they will bail. Very rarely do you have a person that goes all 8 years in a cabinet position.
She was a complete disaster when she did it. That's my opinion.
Is there anything over the next 6 weeks, if more information comes out? So many Republican leaders have walked away from Donald. Are you with him no matter what?
I think you're speculating, and it depends on what it is. You know, I can't speak to that. I don't know what information's come out or will come out, but a comment from 11 years ago is not going to change my mind.
All right, Alessia, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Yeah, so that's another, it just depends. Like I said, Donald Trump could walk out in the middle of Fifth Avenue, shoot somebody in the face, and this is one of the ladies that would say, well, the guy probably deserved it.